Hey, what's up everyone? I'm Porpoise from Zero G Videos, and today I will be ranking every roller coaster at Six Flags Great Adventure. Six Flags Great Adventure in Jackson, New Jersey is my home park. So today I've decided to give you guys my opinions on all of the park's roller coasters. Keep in mind that this is just my opinion and not fact. So let's get right into the rankings. Alright, so the bottom four of the park, there's not much to say, so I'm just going to speed run. Little Devil, just a really small kiddie coaster, good for the kids, but that's it. Harley Quinn Crazy Train is literally just a bigger Little Devil. The Dark Knight is an indoor wild mouth with some decent theming that it makes it worth a ride. And Skull Mountain is another indoor coaster with a much better layout than the Dark Knight, but without the theming. Alright, now into the top 10. This is where the rides are actually pretty intense and fun. Just barely making it in is what is, my opinion, the worst thrill coaster in the park, the Joker. Joker can give some pretty insane rides sometimes, but only sometimes. The flipping is not controlled at all, and more often than not, I just find that it rocks you back and forth awkwardly, leading to a very boring ride. Most of the time when you ride this, it's just like a rocking chair, but with weird and slightly jarring movements, and you're also wearing vest restraints. That's why I only ride this when it's a walk-on, which is pretty rare considering it always seems to have one of the longest and slowest moving lines in the park. Number 9 is a great adventure classic, Runaway Mine Train. This Aero Mine Train opened with the park back in 1974, and I still think it's a fun ride. It takes you through the woods and over a lake, and has some surprisingly intense moments for what's basically a family coaster. It was one of my first coasters, and was my number 1 for a while before I was tall enough to ride the other thrill coasters at the park. The helix after the mid-course brake run is very fun, and there's a surprising pop of airtime before the final turn over the lake. Overall, even though it rides rough, it's still a fun ride for everyone. Next up in 8th place is the first of many hot takes, Bizarro. I used to really like this, thinking it was top 3 in the park. But I feel like it hasn't been running good at all recently. Maybe it's just this year or it's just me that it's running different. But I feel like it's been kind of forceless, and it's also been developing a bit of a rattle. I will say that the special effects and theming are really cool, and I still think that this is a fun ride. It's definitely a lot better and more intense in the back rows, but still not enough to move up in my rankings. It's getting refurbished next year, which is exciting, but I really hope they don't remove the special effects, because that's what makes the ride memorable in my opinion. Flying into 7th is Superman Ultimate Flight, the park's B&M flying coaster. In the back rows, you start off with a great twisted drop that gets pretty close to the ground, and then into the coaster's best element, the pretzel loop. You get thrown into your seat from the vest restraint, and stay pinned to it with strong force until the end. That crazy flip is followed by a fast descending helix. This is where many say the ride drops off, with some graceful turns and an inline twist into the brakes. I can agree that I don't like this part as much as the rest, but I still like what it is. Like, come on, just because a ride isn't crazy pedal to the metal forceful the whole time, doesn't mean it can't still be fun and enjoyable. It does the graceful turns very well in my opinion, really making you feel like you're flying. That's what matters in my opinion, how well the ride does what it's intended to do, not what it is intended to do. But for those of you who do prefer breakneck intensity over graceful flight, like me, don't worry, because coming into 6th place is Batman the Ride. This B&M inverted coaster is crazy forceful, packed to the brim with an insanely intense drop, forceful and whippy inversions, and... oh, it's over already? Yeah, it's a very short ride. That's the biggest downside, it feels over before it even starts. It feels just as short as how 10 minutes feels when you wake up at 6:50 and you have to get up for school at 7. The two crazy intense loops and zero-G roll that is super whippy definitely make up for it though. Batman is definitely worth checking out if the line isn't too long, because the last part of the queue is literally a microwave oven that tries to cook you alive on a hot day. Just pray that they have the AC on in this case, which they definitely do sometimes. Now we're into what I would say are the elites of the park, starting with Green Lantern. This stand-up coaster is severely overhated in my opinion, with some great positive Gs, fast pacing, and whippy inversions. It is also a very smooth ride, unlike what many say. I genuinely do not understand how people find this has headbanging. I find it's nearly glass smooth, at least if you ride in the front row. I also personally think that the standing up aspect adds to the ride. Many people criticize it for leg pain because of the strong forces, but they're probably just wimps who never leave their rooms unless it's to go to an amusement park. It's a very long ride with no dead moments, and the pacing is amazing. I would say it's not as intense as Batman, but it is a lot longer, which makes up for it. There's also some minimal theming elements, like a fighter jet, and the plot of land that it's on kind of feels like an airport runway, even though it's literally just the parking lot. It even has some surprising ejector airtime pops, which are really cool to experience standing up. Next up might not be king of the park to many, but it sure has a large presence, and I mean large. That's right, launching into 4th is the world's tallest coaster, King Ka. This thrives on a similar reason to Batman, as it's really short but packs a punch. But unlike Batman, I feel like it's more complete. I generally don't get how I feel this because, look at it, it's literally shorter than the kiddie coasters at the park in duration. But don't let it fool you, because this is the definition of an adrenaline rush. The launch is crazy forceful, and the wind in your face is insane in the front row. The insanely forceful launch is followed by bone-crushing G-forces into a top hat that provides great views, and some nice airtime as well, and then a really cool spiraling drop that seems to last forever. Some people say the drop isn't that good because it's not straight, but come on, it's literally more than 400 feet and straight down. Before you hit the brakes, there's also a nice ejector airtime hill. And our bronze medalist is the park's hypercoaster Nitro. Some crazy people say this has no airtime, and I have no clue what drugs they're taking. The airtime on this is crazy strong, even if you somehow manage to staple yourself with those amazing B&M lap bars. It also provides a stunning journey into the woods to accompany its beautiful floater airtime. A night ride is a must. You can barely see anything back in the woods, and the airtime turns from floater to ejector on many of the hills. The helix before the mid-course also has some great positive Gs before a bunny hill finale with some stellar ejector pops. It might not be the most intense or out-of-control ride, but there's something about it that just feels perfect. Just barely missing out on gold is the park's new for 2021 RMC Raptor, Jersey Devil. This is pretty polarizing because it had pacing issues when it opened. It literally felt like a family coaster in the second half on opening weekend. But after it got new wheels, and they turned off the mid-course trims, the pacing issues are now completely gone from my experience. The first drop feels like it's trying to send you to Brazil, and the rest of the ride contains really powerful airtime moments, fun inversions, and whippy transitions. It runs a lot faster at night, leading to a truly extreme coaster. But it's not enough to beat the legendary El Toro. This ride is literally perfect. It has the best, strongest, and most sustained ejector airtime of any coaster I've been on, and yes, that includes Steel Vengeance. But that's not all that the Bull has to offer. After 3 out-of-this-world ejector airtime moments, it switches things up for a lower-to-the-ground section based on speed and floater airtime. You fly under the supports of the previous section, which makes you feel like you're going much faster than you actually are. But then comes one of the craziest elements on any roller coaster ever. I legit have no clue how this is legal. It's the notorious Rolling Thunder Hill. It got its name because it was built to cross over the now-defunct Rolling Thunder roller coaster, and it provides the most powerful airtime I've experienced. People say that Thigh Crush is an intimate hyper at Hershey Park, but I disagree. That title goes to El Toro's Rolling Thunder Hill. After that, it plunges you into a low-to-the-ground twister section that was probably the result of Intamin misplacing the second half of El Toro's blueprints, so they just stole Maverick's plans. El Toro has some of the most wild elements ever created, with basically zero flaws in my book. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more like it, feel free to subscribe. Comment down below your opinions on Great Adventure's coaster lineup, whether you agree or think my takes are completely bullshit. Bye, everyone!